Go ahead and begin. Okay. Nope, that is not the one I wanted. Uh-oh. This is what happens when Mrs. Harrison is doing 3 or 4 things before teaching. She gets a little busy. Uh-oh, don't do that yet. All right, so today we are going to continue with our work on adaptations and the wide world of frogs. Our learning targets today are I can fluently read a poem aloud. We're going to read together a poem, and I'm going to read it a couple of times, and I want you to imagine what you see in your head, and then we're going to analyze it, do some close reading with it, and then you're going to read it fluently a couple times. And so we'll do some work with that. And then I can refer explicitly to the text when answering questions about the text. In this case, it's the poem. And I can write the end of a pourquoi tale that provides a solution. Oh boy, I got things in my way so I can't read. There we are. Let me get rid of that. There we go. I can write the end of a pourquoi tale that provides a solution to the problem. So we know that yesterday we wrote about the problem of Steve the lizard and explains the message or the purpose of the narrative, wraps up the story and explains the whole point of our story, which is why do pollywogs wiggle? So we are going to explain why that is. So we're going to add a solution. Solution is the way we solve our problem, and the purpose of all pourquois is to tell why a natural phenomenon has come to be. All right. So, oh, man. Today, I didn't want you to see the poem yet. Today's poem is called The Glass Frog. And before I show you the picture and we looked at the actual words, I want to read the poem to you, just without you seeing the words for a moment, so you can get a picture in your head. All right. It's called The Glass Frog. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again. Good grief. All right, I'm gonna do it again. I want you to close your eyes maybe and see if you can see this frog in your head. The glass frog. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me.
I don't know how
which part is me and which is leaf. I've lost myself again. Good grief. Okay, one more time. And then I'm going to show you the picture that goes with this in the book. The glass frog. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. Which part is me and which part is leaf? I've lost myself again. Good grief. Okay, so I want to show you I wanted to escape. I want to show you the book page from our book, Lizards, Frogs, and Pollywogs, from the same book that all of our poems have come from. And this, here's our poem. Oh, it's not coming out very well. There we go. I have a bigger version for you later anyway. But here is the painting that goes with this particular one. And I think it's great because it kind of shows you, here's our leaf and here's our frog. And then there's some words here. I don't know if you can make them out here, but it says leaf, me, leaf. What do you notice about this picture, my friends at home? What do you notice? Looking for my, uh-oh. Can anybody raise their hand and tell me what you see on our picture here?
I see a frog frozen inside a leaf.
You think he's in the leaf? You think so, Ethan? You think he's frozen in there?
Probably not, but I'm curious how frogs die and come back to life.
Okay, so you're talking about yesterday's frog, right? The wood frog? He didn't die. That was the point of the video and the poem, is he doesn't die. He freezes and then he unfreezes. So because he has a special way to have the chemicals in his body preserve him so that when he freezes,
So
come back.
would frogs have special cells that prevent them from dying when they freeze?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. So that was the wood frog yesterday. Exactly. So we're learning things about different types of frogs. We learned about the dart frog, and we learned about
I even came up with a frog story that in China, a golden froglet thinks he'll die because of the winter, and he tries to migrate like geese do, but the other frogs won't let him because they would miss him too much. But they are like bullies. And then but he actually lives through the winter.
Wow, Ethan, that is pretty impressive. You came out, you decided to that's a story that you came up with? Did you?
Yeah, it is a story that I came up with.
Wowzer. I think you definitely hold on to those ideas, and when we write our pourquoi story, I think you should use those ideas. That's amazing. Have you written them down yet? Or are they just still in your head? You wrote, oh, okay, all right. I think that's awesome. When we're writing our pourquois next week, I think you should definitely use those ideas. I love how you took some information from yesterday and put that in there. So here we have our picture, and like Ethan said, it looks like he's kind of inside the leaf, doesn't it? A little bit, like he's in there, but he's actually on top of the leaf. But can we see clearly all the edges of him?
Maybe he actually can camouflage.
Ah, well, let's talk about that. What do we think of? So I'm going to go back to my poem here a little bit for a second. What do we know? Let's look at the title, The Glass Frog. What does that title tell you?
He's made of glass.
He's made of glass? Okay.
Well, he looks like it.
Could be. Haley Booker, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe he actually doesn't look like it.
That he's like kind of clear and like he's small and his eyes and like he's kind of like camouflage.
Okay, I like that part about what
Will I write my poem on this?
Yeah, you could, Mr. Ethan. Yeah, you could. So the glass is clear, right? When you see through glass, we can see through glass.
Well, it's more of a story than a poem. I'm just gonna write it down on this and draw
That's
some
great, buddy.
pictures.
The glass frog. So we know glass is see-through, right? Glass is transparent. We're going to talk about some of those words again when we are in Unit 2. But glass, we can kind of see through, right? So getting that idea here in that picture that we have here, all right, that it's hard to see him. So let's dissect this poem a little bit. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again. Good grief. All right. So who is the me in this poem? Who is the me?
The frog.
The frog, right? The frog. So me is a pronoun, and a pronoun is a word that takes place of another noun, right? Or another word. And so in this case, instead of saying frog, 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 it's from the frog's perspective. And frog is the me, right? And it says, I've lost myself again. So who's the I in this case then too?
The glass frog.
The glass frog as well. Very good. So it says upon a tree. So what two words do you see in the word upon? What two words do you see in upon? Mr. Nixon, what two words do you see in upon? What word do you see there?
Up and on.
Up and on, right? Up and on, upon. So where in this tree is this frog? Where in the tree is the frog, Noah?
On the tree.
On the tree, right? He's in the upon a tree. So he's in the tree. So you're going to imagine that he's up in, you can imagine that in your head. It's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. So where is he probably sitting in the tree? Where in the tree?
On a leaf.
He's on a leaf. Very good. So he's on a leaf. So is he high up in the tree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to be high up, right? He's not going to be down low because he's not going to be like on the bark, right? It's hard to see. Who's having trouble seeing?
Yeah, probably.
Miss Astria, who's having trouble seeing? The frog, right? Yeah, the glass frog
Yes.
is having a hard time seeing. It's hard to see. It's from his perspective. Which part is leaf and which is me? Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again. Good grief. So we have some lines here that do what at the end? What do we notice that in this poem, the words at the end of the lines? What do you notice about the words at the end of the lines? Miss Abby, what do you notice?
Let's start with G.
E and C, leaf, me, again, grief, leaf and grief. What do you notice about those words, Abby? What do you know about notice about those words?
Abby, they rhyme.
E. All right, yep, they do some rhyming, don't they? Upon a tree, it's hard to see. So those two lines rhyme, right? Which part is leaf and which is me? Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again, good grief. So we know from some of our other poems that poems can rhyme, and some poems have a pattern where for every two lines rhyme. Is that the case for this poem? Does every two lines rhyme? They don't, do they? No. Tree and sea rhyme, leaf and grief rhyme, but do they necessarily have a set of the same? They don't. So that's the great thing about poetry is a poem can still rhyme, but it doesn't have to necessarily, whatever the poet decides to do, the poet can decide, do I want each of the two lines to be rhyming, or do I want a different sort of setup? So this in particular doesn't have each line rhyme, but there is some rhyming within it for sure. Now this is, which part is leaf? That kind of sounds a little bit strange, doesn't it? Which part is leaf and which is me? Does it seem like there should be a word in there? Like a the or an a, you know, or an a in there? Which part is a leaf or the leaf? And which part is me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he leaves that out, right? So if you're a poet, do you have to stick to what the normal things that we do for sentences? We don't, do we? Now, if you're a poet, you can write your poem in a way that makes it sound good. For if you decide that that's how you want it to be. And so let's see how it would sound if I stick in the. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is the leaf and which is me. Which part of me, or which part is me and which is the leaf. I've lost myself again, good grief. Does the poem flow as nicely if I put those extra words in there?
Yes.
What do you think? Some of you think so? Okay. Some of you are telling me no. So it is a choice that the author made of the poem to make it sound the way that they wanted to sound. And I kind of like it without that extra word because it's got a nice beat. Upon a tree, it's hard to see. You can feel a beat to it. Which part is leaf and which is me? Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again, good grief. Do you hear sort of that rhythm that the author put in there? And if we put the word the in there, it doesn't change the meaning at all to add the word the in there. It's perfectly fine, but it changes the rhythm of the poem. Okay, and it says, I've lost myself again, good grief. Can somebody explain to me what that part means? What does that part mean? I've lost myself again, good grief. Who can tell me what they think that part means? Oh, Miss Lila Morris. Always paying attention. Thank you, sweetie.
So, I think what he means by he's lost himself again is he forgot where he is.
You think he forgot where he is? Okay. Anybody else have an interpretation of this poem? What does that mean, do you think, Mr. Renee?
Maybe he can't see himself because he's blending in with the leaves.
Exactly. He can't even, he is so hard to see that even he can't see himself because he's blending in with the leaf. All right, everybody put your hand, everybody take your hand for just a minute and put it down beside you, wherever you, oh, good job. I see all my people following directions. Put it down on the desk or the chair or your knee or wherever. Can you see your hand? You can see it, right? Yeah. It's definitely not clear. Yeah. But if your hand was clear, you'd see what's underneath it, right? So some of you put it, I see someone put it on a notebook. It would be the color of the notebook, wouldn't it? You'd see right through it. If you put it on, if I put it on my white desk here, then my hand would look as if it's white. What color is a leaf generally? Miss Madison, what color is a leaf usually?
Green.
Green, right? So what color is the glass frog, do you think?
Green.
Green, but he's got to be a little bit green, but he's also kind of clear.
He's clear.
What? Thinking about your hand again, what would you see? If your hand was clear, what would you probably still see?
Nothing.
Inside your hand.
Nothing.
Oh,
We would see nothing.
start it again.
The computer.
The leaf or the desk.
Oh my goodness. What?
Computers.
Okay, it would be the thing underneath it, but what is inside your hand that's solid? Solid that you definitely would see.
What?
Very good. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the little.
Oh.
You muted yourself.
Bug.
You muted yourself.
You muted yourself.
Do you think that all of the, do you think all of the frog is see-through? Do you think all of his body is see-through? Charlie Kerr's like, yeah, but do you think you might maybe see the frog's bones? Will you see some of the frog, do you think?
Yes.
In fact, I'm going to show you what a glass frog looks like.
No.
Let's read this one. We're going to read it a couple more times, and then I want you to take a, you're going to need your EL book. We're going to need page 20 in a minute. Let's read this together a couple times first. And then we're going to have, hopefully you have your EL book nearby. Here we go. We're going to read it together. So you can unmute and we can read it together. I'm going to read it once by myself, and then we're going to read it together. Here we go. The glass frog. Upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. Which part is me and which is leaf? I've lost myself again. Good grief. All right, everybody ready? Everybody see my screen? Everybody can see this? Let me make it just a little bit clearer. There we go. I think I like that better. All right, here we go. On the count of three, we're going to say the title. 1, 2, 3. The
glass frog.
The glass frog.
Comic tree.
It's hard to see.
Hard
It's hard to see.
Like myself.
Which part is
and good
He couldn't really see himself.
All right. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Be quiet. All right. So what do you notice at the end of our poem? What does that what's that punctuation that we see?
Exclamation
Charlie
mark.
Carr, what is that?
A exclamation mark.
It's an exclamation mark. And so what does that tell us? When we're going to read it out loud. Miss Haley, I'm hoping you can go ahead and put that away for right now. Thank you. It's hard for me to pay attention to myself when you're playing ball there. So what do you notice? It's an exclamation mark. So what should our voice do? It should show emotion, right? We should show emotion so good grief. If we're using our expression, right? So let's do it one more time, and I want to hear some expression at the end, all right? Not yelling. It's not loud. That's not an exclamation mark telling us it's loud. It's an exclamation mark telling us that it's got expression. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Glass frog. A tree. Part is leaf. Part is leaf.
On a tree.
Part is leaf.
What is leaf?
Myself.
I've lost myself again.
I've lost myself again. Grief. I've lost myself again. Good grief.
All right, that was much better. This time it was much better.
I've lost myself again. Good grief.
Excellent job. All right, so I want you to go ahead and take out your EL workbook for a minute. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm going to go ahead and have you grab your pencil and your EL workbook on page 20. On page 20, it says, upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. It says, sketch a tree and show where to find the narrator of the poem. So, with your pencil, let's draw some sort of tree. All right, everybody can go ahead and mute right now, just so that, because I'm going to ask a lot of questions for a moment. So if you could mute for a moment, that'd be great. So everybody, your tree can look however you want your tree to look. That's just my tree, because I'm quick and I'm using a pen, and I should be doing a pencil, shouldn't I? All right. So it says upon a tree. So we know that it's got to be where the leaves are, right? And we said the leaves are near the, show me with your finger, where are the leaves are going to be where? Near the top, right? So where would we put, so I want you to put a dot to show on the tree where your frog.
Okay, I'll just do, well, I'm actually making a story about how frogs having a certain immune system to survive harsh cold weather.
Okay,
This
buddy,
is
so we're
page.
focus on page 20 for the moment, Mr. Ethan, okay?
Okay.
Thank you,
What
buddy.
page?
All right.
Page.
Oh, Miss Lila, very nice. I like your, Miss Lila showing me her tree, and she put a dot right where she thinks on her tree our frog would be. All right, who else can show me where they put?
What page?
Page 20.
Oh, okay.
Page 20. So, oh, Miss Clara, can you hold it up just a little tiny bit closer? Ooh, up just a little bit.
I kind of drew a tree. You can't really see the frog I drew on it because I drew it like he's invisible.
All right, Miss Sunny Poe, nice job, nice tree. Sawyer's got his tree. So Sawyer, so where would he, I think I see the frog on the bark. Would the frog be on the bark? Where is he gonna be? Is he gonna be in the leaves? Because remember it says which part is leaf and which is me. So is he gonna be higher than that? Yeah, he's gonna be higher up on that. All right, so anywhere on the top of the tree, you're gonna find your little guy, and he's gonna be up near the top somewhere, huh? And then it says sketch a glass frog on a leaf. So remember, we're not gonna be able to see him very well, right? So we might just see part of him. I might just see his bulgy eyes. I might just see part of him. Oh, my frog is not so good. This is why I don't teach art, friends. This is why I don't teach. Maybe I can just get a little, maybe his little feet. Maybe I'm not going to see all of him. Maybe I'm just going to see some of him. The idea is to show what? That he's clear, right? That he's transparent, that we can't see him very well. And he can't even see himself. When he looks down, he can't even see himself. If there's anybody that wants to share their drawings, boy.
So I want to share my drawing. So there's the tree in the pond, and this leaf. I drew an oak leaf, and it's pretty much this guy is on. You can't really see him very well, and I barely even drew him, and
because he's light, because we can't see him. Good
I
job.
barely even drew
Barely
him.
even can see him. Josh, nice job, buddy. Mr. Carter, nice job. Who else can show me their drawing? August, very nice. Max, ooh, I like Max's little feet there. All right, Marin, nice job. I think maybe you should do my artwork from now on. That looks awesome compared to mine. Mr. Jensen, you're gonna show me yours? Oh, I lost him. Had Jensen and then he went away. Oh, Charlie Carr, I like how you colored him in. So he looks like he's the same color. All right, Jensen, awesome, buddy. Lucas, all right. Logan, awesome. Oh, I can't even see him, Logan. Nice job. You did a great job. I can barely see him. All right. So again, upon a tree, it's hard to see which part is leaf and which is me. He can't even see himself, right? Good job, Ms. Lyric. Awesome. All right, you guys have got this. All right. So I was going to show you a little bit while you're finishing that up. Go ahead and finish your drawing for me. So we're going to need to move on for our next part. All right. So if you want to go back and see any of this in our slideshow, there's our poem is in here as well. Close readers, we just went through small chunks of text. We talked about what a pond means. The only word we didn't really talk about was grief. Good grief. What does good grief mean? Anybody have any ideas about good grief? It's just an expression, right? It's an expression talking about, let's see, I see some hands up, but I'm not sure who's got good grief. Trying to see who's got their hands up. Two participants have raised hands. I'm trying to find them. All right, I'm going to call Jensen Cook because I can see his hand. Oh, and then Josh. So Jensen, what do you think good grief means?
Like it keeps doing it again, or like going over and over.
It's happening over and over, and he's feeling what? What's he feeling?
Angry.
Angry? Okay, how about maybe angry, maybe frustrated? What do you think, Josh Carter?
I think it means maybe he thought, not again.
Not again, exactly. Not again. Good grief. I can't believe this has happened to me again. I lost myself, right? So the author is just giving you a sense of that he can't even see himself. And oh my goodness, that's so silly. I'm going to show you some pictures real quick of some glass frogs so that you can have an idea of, okay, let me present what they actually look like. So you can see some glass frogs here. So as you can see, they are somewhat green and you can see their eyes, but can you see that especially their feet are pretty thin and their skin is pretty clear. So if you look at this picture over here, what can you see? And this one's not on a leaf so that we can see him better.
I see them.
What do you see?
Actually,
in that?
actually kind of do see them. Actually, do notice
You
them.
can see them a little bit, but what if you were far away? Are these pictures pretty close up? They are, aren't they? But what if you were at the bottom of the tree?
Yeah.
Would you be able to see them as well?
No.
No. And did you what part of the frog can you see from below?
Maybe they actually need that to hide from predators.
Do you?
can see
I
the
think that is.
inside of
Totally, we're going to talk about that in Unit 2. That it definitely helps them keep away from predators, and we can see some parts of. But if you look carefully in this one guy here, you can see how his skin is really pretty see-through, and we can actually see some of the stuff inside the frog. Here's another set of pictures. So you can
see his veins and
look at those.
bones. So that.
Pretty far. Oh, especially look at this one here. If you were very far away, would you be able to see him very well? No. This guy's got glasses on, so we can see him pretty well. He's taking good care of those bulgy eyes there. But you can also see that really, we can see the inside of the frog. He's so see-through. He's such like a his skin is made out of glass, right? The glass frog. We can see inside them. They are so clear. And it's not entirely clear, obviously, but you can see, and this one's quite dark compared to the rest of him, but we could imagine that depending on where he is on a leaf, we might, and if we're far away, we might have trouble being able to see him. So we've been asking all kinds of questions, right? Why do polywogs wiggle? Why are poison dart frogs so brightly colored? Why do poison dart frogs have poison? Why is the wood frog frozen in winter? But based on this particular poem, what question could we add to our why list? Ooh, exit for just a second. What question could we add to our why list that we have that is attached to this assignment? What could we add to our list? Oh boy, Mrs. Harrison is going to have trouble finding it today, isn't she? Where is my list? What could we add to our list of questions, do you think? Who has a good one? Now, we're not going to add, so I just want to focus on the frog, the glass frog, okay? So yes, we could add a lot of other questions, but what could we add as a question about the glass frog? What could we add to our list? Charlie Van Rickley, what could we add to our list?
Why are the glass?
Why are the glass frogs see-through? Why are they transparent? Yeah, why can we see? Could we make an interesting story about that? We could make up a very interesting pourquoi about why that frog is like that, couldn't we? We could come up with a story about explaining why the glass frog is see-through for sure. All right, so I just wanted to show you real quick, there are where glass frogs really do exist. And I show you some real pictures of them. Here we are in the United States, right? And so glass frogs are in what we call Central and South America, in this area right here. This is Central America, this is South America, and there are several different countries that have them. But if you'll notice, this is near what we call the equator, and the equator is someplace that's quite warm. And we do expect most of our frogs, not the wood frog, but most of our frogs like where it's wet and where it's warm. And in this case, right there in Central and the top of South America is nice and usually very rainforest-like. So wet and lots of good trees, like what he's wanting to be on. All right, so we're going to take a transition from our glass frog to our narrative texts, back to our narrative text. So we were talking about, we just thought of another question to ask to add to our why list. And let's think about narrative texts. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? They also have, then we talked about there are some essential elements that we need to have for a good narrative text, we need to have an area that establishes the situation and introduces the character or the narrator. We have a middle that has a problem and explains how the characters are dealing with that problem. And then we have an ending, a way to wrap up a solution to our problem, and a wrap up which kind of explains what the point of the story is. And a pourquoi tale, we know, is a story that explains, that explains some sort of natural phenomenon in a way that is kind of fun for the readers, right? Is entertaining. And so we know that we have 3 main sections of a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end, but each of those sections has 2 parts to it as well. And we are going to be adding some parts to our story. So think about, what is the problem in our story, in our Why Pollywogs Wiggle? Who can tell me what the problem of our story is? Everybody's hand should be up. Come on, friends, you guys came up with the idea, right? What's the problem into our story? Ryder, what's the problem in our story?
The lizards, Steve the lizard is about to eat them.
Exactly. So we have to get out of that problem, right? We have to figure out how that problem is going to be solved. So we're going to write that today. We're going to write how the pollywogs get out of this dangerous situation. And we are going to add that to our story using our graphic organizer that we came up with. And then we're going to talk about what's the point of our story. All pourquois are to explain something of that natural phenomenon, right? So we know the name of our story is Why Do Pollywogs Wiggle? That's the point of our story. So we have to add that in the end a little bit and explain how the end of our story is going to, why this story explains something that happens in real life. All right, so we're gonna look over our different parts that we already came up with. These are, a reason I really attach these is not only to remind us of what the story looks like, but also if any of you have any of the pages that are not finished, that you will have an opportunity to get those finished today, all right? You can go back and add in the information if you are behind, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and, ooh, didn't mean to click. All right, so I'm just gonna review a little bit about where we started with the story. Long, long ago in a pond on the savannah, a group of pollywogs were hanging out looking for food. The pond was surrounded by grasses and rocks. Maddie, the largest of the pollywogs, was keeping watch for predators while the other pollywogs were eating small plants. And remember, this is the establishing the situation. Remember this little symbol right here? It's going to tell the where and the when and the what's happening to start our story out. And then here we have this symbol. This symbol tells us about the characters, right? I remember Lucas was telling us that that little smiley face was a good symbol for the characters. So Maddie was a baby African bullfrog and had always been the frog most worried about the lizards also in the savannah. Maddie's friends were named Phil, Flower, and Phil. Phil was tiny, Flower was tinier, and little Phil was the tiniest. They were always worried about eating and not worried about being eaten. Maddie and her friends, oh, there's that symbol, that cloud. What does that cloud tell us? What's that cloud a symbol for?
The cloud is the problem, but I'm not sure how it symbolizes the problem. Maybe it's supposed to be a dark cloud with thunder and lightning.
Yes, I think you're right, Ethan. So when we think of clouds, we think of storms, and storms usually are associated with something that...
Oh, and in my story, a winter cloud.
Oh, okay, that works for me. Since your idea is being cold, you're right. So Maddie and her friends had just finished a game of hide and seek. They decided they needed a snack. Well, of course they did, because they're always about eating, right? They began searching for food. Someone else was also looking for food. Maddie saw the head of a lizard coming from behind the rocks. Maddie recognized it was Steve the chameleon. And here we go. Here's our next symbol. Our next symbol reminds us that we have to move the story forward in a way because we need to see what the characters are thinking, acting, and possibly saying out loud. And so this is where we added some dialogue. Remember, dialogue is the talking either out loud or what we call internal dialogue, which is what they're thinking. So Maddie yelled, "Watch out, it is Steve." Remember, he tried to eat us last week. Maddie was scared, but realized she had to be brave and save her friends from being eaten. She said, we have to find a place to hide. The pollywogs looked around for a place to hide. All right, so now that's where we left our story yesterday. So we need to go back to our graphic organizer, which was on page 11. So go ahead and look at page 11 inside your workbook. We wrote down this page. I'm going to go back to my dial. There we go. So here we were yesterday. We used some of this that we wrote down here and organized here. And then Mrs. Harrison said some of this is actually going to be part of how we explain the part where we have the sun. And I want to point out that there are two sections actually, because sometimes coming up with a solution to the problem takes a bit more time in the story. Not every section is exactly the same amount of sentences. So sometimes when we get to the part that is the solution, sometimes we need a couple pages for that because there's a lot going on in the story to explain how we solve the problem. So we're going to look at this part here and this part as well to help us plan the next section. So it says, what does he or she do? Well, they first try to cover themselves with plants, but the lizard moves them. And then we talked about maybe they also try to hide in the mud. They try out different movements. They're trying to get away. They realize they have to get away from the lizard, right? Because we say they figured out to swim away from the lizard and hide in the crack in the rocks. That's where they find a hide. So we said they might have to try out some different movements. And we listed some of the ones from our pollywog poem, that they wiggle and they quiver and they shiver and they jiggle and they wriggle and they wobble and they even jog, not run, jog meaning they move side to side quickly. So since the whole name of our story is why do pollywogs wiggle, we have to somehow connect the wiggle with the being able to swim, right? And that they're going to swim away from the lizard, hide, and then they'll be safe, right? That's where we're going with this. This is what you guys decided. Now we just need to figure out how to put that in some sentences so that we are clear on our story, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up. So we're going to add, and there's actually two. I'm going to see if I can make this a little bit bigger here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I don't want to go ahead. I can't type in presentation mode, so I've just got to increase this a little bit. So hopefully, no, maybe not. Did it do anything? No, it didn't. I'll make it smaller. That's not what I wanted. All right. Ms. Harrison thought she had a plan, but apparently she's just going to go back to where she was in the first place. No, oh. Hey, maybe I actually need to do the opposite of what oh, look at that. All right, much better on my screen. All right, so you might notice that in your workbook, you actually have two suns in there. Like I said, sometimes the solution part takes up more of the story than you realize. So let's look at what the example is for the story that we're reading about why poison dart frogs are colorful. And so let's go back to that thought. Rana thought, how strange, it seems to be getting cooler. Then he saw a giant crack in the cave wall. Rana scooped up the three frogs and wriggled through. First, Rana took a deep breath of fresh air. Then he bent down to see if drab, ash, and gray were all right. Okay, so again, we've got some action here. We've got some thinking, some internal dialogue. And so we can use some of those ideas and talking. I'm going to guess that Maddie's going to have to talk a little bit to her other friends to get them to think about, to get them to do what they need to do to get away from Steve. All right, so I'm going to take some ideas. Remember we talked about collaboration yesterday, that we're collaborating, so I'm not going to be able to take everybody's ideas, but we're going to get some. And then again, if you have a great idea that you don't get to share today or add into our story, remember you get to write your own story, and you're going to plan for that tomorrow. So if your idea doesn't get written down here, please don't be disappointed. It's hard to get 42 sets of ideas.
Oh, about that, I'm already writing my story.
I know, Ethan, you've got a great idea so far. Super, super. Does anybody else have an idea of what we should? I'm going to go back. really quick to my dock camera. And then, so if we look here, so first they try to cover themselves with some plants, right? They're trying to hide, but the lizard just moves them, or we could say plants or mud. I think we had two different ideas there, or they could do one and then the next. And then that they're trying out those movements. So you guys came up with great ideas yesterday. Who's got some things they want to share they think we can add to this page? I'm not seeing as many hands as yesterday. Are you guys tired? I hope not. Oh, Cooper's telling me yeah. Uh-oh. All right, Miss Lila Morris, thank you for raising your hand. You got some ideas?
Yeah. So I was thinking that Maddie would think that she has to talk to her friends about different ways to get away from Steve, and they try out things and they end up thinking of how to swim.
Okay. All right, so we can definitely get some of that in there. Excellent. Miss Haley Collender, did you have some ideas there you wanted to add in there?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I think that Maddie should talk to the lizard and say, "Stay away from my friends. If you're gonna eat anyone, eat me."
Oh, wow.
What? Wait. Really kill herself? She'd really get
so
herself
Matt-
murdered by the evil Steve Lizard. British.
I like Haley has her being very protective. We did talk about Maddie, that being some of the things that we might think about is Maddie was being protective of them. So maybe we could fit that in there, Miss Haley, and have her, you know, she could stand up to the lizard too, for sure, maybe. All right. Anybody else with some ideas? Mr. Charlie Van Rickley, what are you thinking?
Maddie can tell the other lizards to hide behind the seaweed.
Oh, to tell the pollywogs to hide.
Pollywogs.
Yeah, to hide behind the seaweed. All right, because we were talking about plants, right? All right, so I like that idea. All right, anybody else? I want to make sure everybody gets a chance if they want to throw in some ideas. Anybody else? Oh, I had a hand up and then I missed it. Max, what are you thinking, Max Fox?
They maybe try to like trap him or something. Try to like trap him.
Trap the lizard?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, how would they do that? What are you thinking?
I mean, maybe if the lizard like say they're like go into a hole like a rock that's like small enough for tadpoles to go through, but lizards will get their head stuck in.
Oh, so use their size to their advantage. Oh, very nice. All right, I'm not sure exactly how we'll stick that in here, but you could always use that as part of your story too if I can't get it in here. I think that's all my hands up. Unless Mrs. Aubin sees someone else. Oh, Miss Lila, thank you. I've already got you. I've got to move on though, because I thank you so much for you have such great ideas. All right, so let's go ahead to our workbook, and I'm going to go ahead and start typing. So you're going to start writing this part in your story, right? Oh, let's see. I had a text box. There we go. All right. So, need the other text box. There we go. All right. So in your workbook, all of a sudden I realized I put my workbook behind the computer. That's not so useful. All right. So you should be on page. You're filling this in, right? So you're on page 14. We're going to fill in page 14 today. So let's get going. All right. You got those pencils? As I type, you're going to be writing, right? Okay. So we should probably start with Maddie since she's our main character, right? So Maddie, let's see. So we have to they're going to try to cover themselves with some sort of plants, right? Or mud. So Maddie, she probably should talk to them, right? So let's see. I thought about this the other day. Could she if she's underwater, maybe she bubbles. Could that be a way to speak, perhaps? Maddie bubbles. And then there's those quotation marks again that show that we are having some talking. Maddie bubbles, head for the, I would say seaweed, but I don't think we're in an ocean, like, because Charlie had a good idea with seaweed. The plants over there.
What page? What
We're
page?
on page 14. Page 14. Head for the plants over there. Or actually, they can't head for the plants over there. Hold on. They can't get there, right? So we have a problem. Because they just have to get under the plants, right? Dive, here I'm going to say dive under the plants. I just realized they can't head over to there. So sometimes when you're writing, guys, your ideas have to change, right? That's why we use pencils. That definitely, I'm going to make some mistakes. You guys are going to make some mistakes. Always write in pencil so we can go back and fix it, right? Maddie bubbles, dive under the plants. All of the pollywogs get under the leaves. But Steve just uncovers them with his he's a chameleon, so he doesn't really have a claw. Steve just uncovers them with his foot.
His tongue.
Tail.
Tongue? Ooh, tongue.
Tail.
Ah, I like that. Good job, friends.
Tail.
They try to cover themselves with mud, but he manages to find them anyway. And I think there needs to be some talking again, don't we? We have to get out of here. Said Maddie. All right. No. There we go. All right. So now in the second part, they can do all their moving, right? Or I think this is a good spot to stop on this one. And then we can make in the next slide, we can add the part about the different kinds of moving and that how they suddenly get to swim, right? Away. So everybody copying? Everybody get that down. And if you don't get it finished, it's okay, because you can come back to this and get it filled in after class, after the Zoom, okay? So if you're stressing out about getting anything finished, don't worry. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. I know it's going to take a bit. We're going to get our last little bit filled in. All right, thank you, Charlie, for letting me know you're done. Good job. Make sure that you're writing legibly enough to be able to read it, my friends, because this is going to help you be able to write your own story. So this is going to give you the ideas about how you can, how you're going to build your story. So this is our good example. This is our group example. So make sure that you're because I had a friend take a picture and and attach it to his assignment the other day. And I wondered if he was writing legibly enough that he's going to be able to really read it later. All right, I have a couple more friends who are finished. All right. Clara, make sure that you get this filled in, sweetie. On page 20. No, page 14. My page 20, your page 14. Oh, you're good. Wowzer. Awesome, Miss Clara. I'm so impressed. Speed writer. Awesome. Okay. It looks like I have quite a few friends who are finished. Gonna let.
Hey, I'm actually really bad at drawing frogs. I'll probably practice on this.
Well,
sheet.
Ethan, right now we don't really need to worry about drawing because we're kind of just focusing on our writing ideas right now. Okay. So I see that I have a couple people who are still writing, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So don't be too frustrated with me because this is going to be here in the assignment for you for later, okay? So it's okay that if you can always come back and add it. This will be here on the assignment, all right? I'm going to go ahead and move to, so now we don't need to get to that second part. Here's the below, here we have the part about the poison dart frogs. So Rana was amazed. Drab, ash, and gray were safe, but they were not dull and green anymore. Drab was ruby red with flecks of gold. Ash was bright sapphire blue with streaks of black. Gray looked like a shimmering rainbow. The walls of the cave had melted and coated the frogs in brilliant colors. So here we have the explanation of how really these things are happening. So now we're going to focus, this is our last page of really getting those ideas down about how we are solving why they wiggle now, right? So we're going to go ahead and click in here. I'm going to go ahead and just, again, follow what we already have on our plan. So we have everything written here, and you guys already shared your ideas about what we should have next. So we could say, let's get one of our other characters in here. So we could say, Phil, let's get Phil in here. Phil suggests, I gotta be able to spell. All right, there we go. Phil suggests that, I'll have him talk. Try to wriggle your body. There's my quotation marks again on the outside. Try to wriggle your body. They all try, but no one moves. Try to jiggle. Says flower. I have to get rid of that, sorry. They all try, but no luck. Bill says, everyone try to wobble. No one moves. Oh my goodness. Then, or finally, Maddie.
Wait, don't go yet. Okay.
Says
Still coloring in my frog picture.
Everyone needs to wiggle as hard as they can. Oh my goodness, I cannot seem to type today. There we go. Oh no, that did not help. There we go. All of the sudden, the 4 pollywogs shoot across the pond away from Steve. We made it. They all cheer.
Hey, here's my best drawing of the frog I designed myself.
Oh, wowzer, Mr. Ethan. I know you love the good art stuff. All right, I realized I was just typing and not talking, but I found out I type much better if I don't talk and type at the same time. All right, so see what you guys think. Bill suggests try to wriggle your body. They all try, but no one moves. Try to jiggle, says Flower. They all try, but no luck. I'm gonna say with, yeah, okay. Bill says everyone try to wobble. No one moves. Finally, Maddie says everyone needs to wiggle as hard as they can. All of a sudden, the 4 pollywogs shoot across the pond away from Steve. We made it, they all cheered. We are safe. Gotta get quotation marks in there. Goodness. Steve could no longer get them, so he walked away. Did we solve our problem, friends? Yay, we solved our problem. All right, my friends. Hit it. So there's one last page on page 15, but we will work on that tomorrow. Because that is an important part about how to wrap up our story. All right, my friends. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and make that, I'm going to put it in present mode because I realize that one's a little bit longer than all the rest. And now you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Is that better? All right. Okay, so let's think about what we accomplished today, friends. Wowzer, we learned a new poem about the glass frogs. We learned a little bit about glass frogs and where they come from and how their body does an amazing job of blending in with the leaves. And then we talked about what the parts that we need of a story are, and that we have created a story using all the essential elements of a narrative. And now we finished our last 2 solution pages and we have wrapped up how to solve our problem. And we used some great dialogue there. And now the last part we're going to get to, which we'll do tomorrow, we'll start with tomorrow, it has to do with the point and making sure that we wrap it up so that our reader understands that we have why this story was written, right? Why it's to tell why pollywogs wiggle. Okay, very nice job. Give me a thumbs up if you're done. I know this one's a little longer, so it's going to take a little bit longer. But I think I've got quite a few people who are finished. I cannot seem to get, Mrs. Aubin will have to get a handle on it because I can't seem to see anybody and still be able to share the big words on my screen. All right, my friends. So today we at 12:45. Some of you will be headed to All Block. Make sure that you use the Mrs. Aubin Zoom link, and my OG friends will be using the same link that they're on now, Zoom link that they're on now, and be seeing you at 12:45. If you are finished copying, you can go ahead and I will see you guys later.
Wait 1 minute. I have one thing to say.
Oh, you bet.
I have a lot of kiddos that didn't do their flip grid. I am missing Max, Fox, Sawyer, Marin, Sunny, Lyric, Serne, Abby, Haley Booker, who actually is not on, Ellie, Lila.